Welcome, everybody, to the Redzone Report right here on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, Facebook, and X platforms. I'm your host, Izzy. We're here to talk about OTAs week 2 and about who's doing what the coaches are saying, and all that mess. And we're going to get into it today in the show. Let's talk about it. Hey everybody, how you doing? I'm your host, Izzy, right here on the Redzone Report on the Built in Buffalo YouTube, X, and Facebook pages. Again, we love having everybody here and talking Buffalo Bills football. It is the off season, not a ton to talk about, but as of right now, we have OTAs, so we do have some stuff to discuss. All right, so let's get started with the big part. Josh Allen was not in practice. He was not there, and he was gravely missed because there were some plays that could have happened that he would have pulled off that the guys or they just couldn't pull off. Also, just the feeling of having Josh Allen around, like he's got this aura to him, and everybody's paying attention whenever you see him. You know, everybody's looking for Josh. Everybody's trying to figure out what he's doing. They're trying to follow his lead. They're trying to skip to his loo, so to speak. And so, when Josh Allen is out there, it's noticeable. When he's not out there, it's even more so noticeable. It's a thing, you know, it's not necessarily a problem at this point. You know, he just got married. Congratulations to him. Found the love of his life and decided that he was going to get married in May, or the end of May. And he's taking his time with his lady. It's a voluntary OTAs. Get the backup quarterbacks some opportunity to get some field time with the ones, and come mandatory mini camp, he'll be back refreshed, happy, and ready to go. But until then, the man has, you know, personal business to take care of, and I'm sure he's having a wonderful honeymoon. Now, in the comments, I see you guys already. Sandra L. King, as always, the first comment, Miss Sandra, thank you. Kim Boomhauer, my man Kim, always in my shows. Love it. Thank you for being here, Kim. Joey Hatch in the building. I see you, Joey. And we have 104 watchers already on the show. So those of you guys watching the show, please enjoy, because we got some stuff to talk about. Now, Josh being absent, not a big deal, right? It was expected. He just got married. I'm sure that they planned for it. Mitch Trubisky was out there apparently throwing some decent balls, as was Mike White, Shane Bussell. But my guess is most of the good passes came from Trubisky. Didn't see a lot of specifics as to what each quarterback was doing, other than the fact that Josh was missed. They did talk to the coordinators, right? And, of course, I'm going to talk about the offensive coordinator first, because I usually go offense to defense. It's just kind of something I do. If you guys don't like that, go ahead and let me know, and maybe I'll switch it up, or maybe I won't. I don't know yet. But, yeah, the offensive side of the ball is usually where I go first, and I'm going to stick with that generally today. And Joe Brady was saying that, you know, even though the team is basically returning most of the players on offense, they're still, you know, back at scratch. You know, they're back at square one. And that doesn't make sense, but it does at the same time, right? Because the only guys you really lost were Mac Hollins and Amari Cooper. You return Keon Coleman, Curtis Samuel. You return Khalil Shakir, obviously got an extension. The entire offensive line's back. Josh is back. James Cook, barring any crazy stuff, is back, along with Ray Davis and Ty Johnson. Dalton Kincaid is back. Dawson Knox is back. I guess if you want to look at Quentin Morris, who's now a Jaguar, Reggie Gilliam's back. Like 90% of the offense is back. Very little change personnel-wise, but you still can't go out there trotting around the same team with the same exact game plan, with the same exact, play calling, and just expect for, the NFL not to adjust to what they just saw, right? You have to go about things differently. You have to make changes. You have to, run your scripts a little different. Something has to change. If you do the same thing, you just stagnate. Eventually, people catch on to what you're doing, and it's not going to be as successful, right? Look at quarterbacks like CJ Stroud, right? Rookie year came out, lit the NFL on fire. Year two, not so great, Jane Daniels just did the same thing CJ Stroud did his rookie year. Came out, lit the NFL on fire. But we'll see what happens year two. Oftentimes, the sophomore slump is just because teams got tape on you, and the same stuff that you were doing before is not going to be as successful as it was the first time around. That being said, we're talking about Josh Allen. We're not talking about CJ Stroud, and we're not talking about Jaden Daniels. We're talking about top 3 quarterback in the NFL, arguably right now. You could say top 2 between Josh and Lamar, because Mahomes isn't looking as good as he used to, even though he's getting the Super Bowls, right? He's still doing that thing. His numbers aren't really as prolific as they used to be. And I see you guys' comments. I'm gonna jump in on some of these here. Coconut water. Delicious. Anyways, I see you, Daniel Garish. Josh deserves a great honeymoon. He does, as does Haley. It's really more about her than him. We all know that. If you're a guy and you're married, the honeymoon's about her, and so is the wedding. But it's also about him being, Prince Charming, and her being the princess. And in this case, they're both that. They're both filthy rich. So it's a beautiful thing, I guess. Let's see. My man Joey Hatch comes in. Is James Cook going to show up, or is he going to start getting fined next week? I think that he's going to show up. I don't think he's going to get fined. Doesn't make any sense to me, but again, I'm not him, so people do things that don't make sense to me all the time. If it's me, I show up. I take the $5 million that I'm due this year, obviously, because this is the biggest paycheck he's going to get out of his rookie contract is his 4th year, and then next year, comes once they negotiate that contract or don't. So I'm not really sure. Sandra, Izzy, I look forward to your report every week Sunday. You were missed those weeks you weren't here. Thank you. I appreciate that. Family takes, some time, and every now and then you just got to take some time off, especially in the slow time of the season like that. I'm just happy that the graduations all happened when there was really nothing going on. So that makes me a little happier about it. Let's see. Mandatory minicamp is June 10th through 12th. Mandatory minicamp. Okay, so that is 4 days from today, or in 2 days, and then 2 days later it ends. So it's a 3-day camp, 10th, 11th, and 12th. Okay. Man, minicamp is going to be fun. Minicamp's going to be fun. We'll see what happens with James Cook, but I don't foresee him to be a holdout. But, yeah, even though Brady said, yeah, we got most of the guys coming back, we still have to reinstall and redesign some of the things that we were doing in order to stay fresh, right? You can't stagnate in the NFL. You can't do the same thing over and over again because teams are too good. They're too smart. They're going to plan for it and not allow it to happen. See, if he's looking forward to getting out of Buffalo, I think he should show up to display his skills to others. However, no one inquired about him during a draft. I don't know if that's true or not. I don't know if they'd even tell us about that because, the Bills are kind of secretive about, the inner goings about trades and stuff like that. Also, he's a running back, so let's operate on the assumption that what you said is true. No teams called about him. The reason why no teams called about him, if that's the case, right? He's a 2-down back. He's not a 3-down back. He doesn't play third downs. He doesn't block. We've established this already. This is simply factual information. He's not big enough nor strong enough to do so. And so teams, if they're going to look to trade you anything significant that you're going to see worth it, right? Like, so if the Bills traded James Cook away for a 5th round pick, you'd be pretty upset. And so would I. But teams aren't going to be willing to give up more than, a 4th round pick for him, because in rounds 1, 2, and 3, they can go get a Travion Henderson. They can go get a Judkins. They can go get quality running backs and not have to worry about paying James Cook next year. They can get a guy who's 21, 22 years old who can run the rock like anybody else and simply pay him their rookie contract number. So it makes sense that he was not pursued like that, even though he put up 18 touchdowns, 16 through the air, or 16 on the ground, 2 through the air. But a lot of that was due to the line, and he still took advantage of those reps. Like when he's scoring those touchdowns, he still had to break those plays wide open. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that like the line did it all for him. When Ray Davis had that start because James Cook was injured, which we also have to factor into account, James Cook missed a game. So those are reps that he might have shredded because freaking Ray Davis went out there and put up 97 yards in that game. I would assume that James Cook probably puts up a little bit more, being he has the speed advantage there and really good vision. It's tough to really value where he's at, but a trade for James Cook wouldn't have made sense, I don't think, for most teams. I mean, because again, then you got to pay him $15 million or whatever he demands, or he's out of town. Let's see. Joey Hatch is having a conversation with Miss Sandra. I see. Hope the therapy is going well. See, McBurnett being said no one called about Cook during the. It's probably true, but it's I don't know if I believe them at face value all the time when they say stuff like that, because that could be just part of the bargaining process. Like, well, nobody called for you, so nobody wants you, just us. And it's like, okay. Like, we're the only team that is willing to negotiate with you. No one else called us to see about coming to get you. That could be a tactic that they're using. So it's part of the bargaining process. Like James Cook saying he wants $15 million on social media. It's part of the process where someone expresses what they want and then you negotiate from there. So yeah, I honestly think that James Cook is being a Stephon Diggs Jr. I don't think he's doing all that. I mean, Stephon Diggs never had to ask for his money. The Bills just paid him. So that, to me, those two things don't equate. But I can see where you would feel like he's being a bit of a diva, Andrew. But you never know. I don't see James Cook in that same light. Stephon Diggs is loud and brash. James Cook's none of that. He's quiet, to himself, and he's still been supportive of his team on social media. So he's scrubbed his profile, I guess, but when doing interviews, he's still, it's the Bills, baby. And that's fine. You think he is? That's okay. We all have our opinions. Some of them are agreeable and some aren't. I don't agree with yours on that one, but that's cool. Another thing that Joe Brady had come out and said that Keon Coleman has been working his butt off, man. Keon Coleman's been out there putting in work. He put on weight, as we discussed last week, and as they said, he put probably about 10 pounds, between 7 and 10 pounds of muscle to his frame. He's been out there in Louisiana and in Texas with his cousin CeeDee Lamb putting in work, and specifically said that he was working on his route running and his release packages, so trying to improve his ability to get off the line, get by the corners that are covering him. And apparently looks better at it this year in practice. And, when you put in the work, you tend to get better at things. That's how it works. Well, so I'm hoping, and I know you guys are hoping, that Keon Coleman is getting better in that regard. There was apparently a big play where it was him versus Max Hairston, and he's running down the field, and some of the media thought he dropped the pass, and the people who were actually closer to the play said that Hairston put a hand in there and knocked the ball out. If that's the case, I prefer the Hairston defending it versus Keon just dropping it, right? Because if Keon just drops it, that means he burnt Hairston, which means Hairston lost on his repetition there, and Keon Coleman just flat out drops the ball. Right? That's a negative, right? But if Coleman gets past him, and then Hairston is able to use his catch-up speed, we already know Keon's not that fast. And we know Maxwell Hairston is super fast. So that would make more sense. And if Coleman got two hands on the ball, but Hairston is able to jar it loose, it's a much more positive play for both players. And so that's how I'm trying to look at that. Let's see. Yeah, I see what you're saying, Andrew. And we all got to remember we signed a lot of players that we are giving money to, and we're paying Allen 6-year big money deal. Yeah, that's true, and that's why we don't really have the big name wide receiver like the Bengals. They went big on offense, right? But they have no defense whatsoever to speak of, and so the way I'm looking at it is kind of like what you're looking at. Like the Bills aren't trying to pay a running back. Like they're not trying to pay Derrick Henry money, right? A lot of the money's tied up in Josh. He took a pay, like not a pay cut, but he skims some off the top so that way the Bills didn't have to pay full, value of the market, because the market for Josh was like $62 million a year. And he's like 55, 56 is fine. Like that extra $5 million isn't going to make me or break me. And I want the team to be around me to have a little more money so that way they can pay other guys, which is excellent. Good for you, Josh. But that does still mean that he is going to be the big ticket guy making all the money. The Bills aren't trying to pay a running back Derrick Henry money. They're not trying to pay him Saquon Barkley money. They want a running back who can play running back. And if you guys don't, it is what it is. James can go somewhere else. Somebody else will pay him, and they'll have a 2-down back for $15 million. That's on them. Whether he's being a diva about it, I don't know that if I agree with that part, but I do agree that it's not the position to drop a whole bunch of money in. See, if we really saw James as a big value player, we would have done a big deal after the season ended. I think so too. I agree with that point too. That's just logic right there. Like we didn't take it slow with Khalil Shakir. We didn't take it slow with Terrell Bernard. We didn't take it slow with Greg Rousseau. Like those guys that got paid, and they got paid fairly quick. Christian Benford, So if that's the case, James Cook's kind of the odd man out. Means they don't want to pay you that big money, James. Just saying. See, reporters closer said Max had got a hand on it. That's what I was saying, is that there were some reporters saying that it looked like Keon dropped it, but there were some guys who were closer and had a better angle that said that Max got a hand on it. And if that's the case, if Keon got a hand on the ball and Max got a hand on it to knock it out of there, then that's a more positive play for both Keon and Max than if Keon burns Max and then drops the football, right? Because then you burnt the guy. There's no one there to stop you from catching it, and then you didn't catch it. So you both look stupid on that play. See, that's true. Just like Trey Hendrickson. Yeah, exactly, right? Like Trey Hendrickson sitting there with his, holding his pockets out like, like I put up like 17 sacks. I'm one of the best defensive ends in this NFL. I think he actually led the NFL in sacks. And he's being neglected, right? What is that about? I don't understand how teams can do that to their top players, right? And some people say, well, James Cook is one of our top players. Understood that, but he's a running back, right? It's not a pass rusher. It's not a wide receiver. It's not a quarterback. It's not even a linebacker. It's a running back. Right, Trey Hendrickson, 17.5 sacks this past year. Instead of re-signing their best pass rusher to a nice little 3-year extension, because he's 30, 31, he's probably got 3 or 4 more good years left in him. You sign him to a 3-year extension. Instead, they went and they gave money to the 2 wide receivers. Their offense was fine. They were putting up good points, but their defense was giving up every single point under the sun. And so, yeah, I get that. I get that. I'm super excited for Ray Davis. I think he will be built for life. I hope so. I love Ray Davis, man. That guy's personality is great. Sign McGovern first. Yes. Yes. I'm for this here, too. I'm pro keep that line together because that line keeps your $56 million per year quarterback clean. And McGovern has not been a drop off at all from Mitch Morse. I'm all for keeping McGovern. See, they're being stupid for some reason, and the season is around the corner. Yeah, the Bengals are freaking dumb. But hey, that's none of my business. I hope the Bengals are weak. I hope they do suck. I hope when we play them, we shatter them. See, Bean referenced that he didn't like or agree with Cook going online. Yeah, keep family business in house. We don't go outside his house and tell people what happens in his house. This is in his house, and you go out there and you start, having your conversations and saying that you want this, that, and the third. Well, next time you learn, keep family business in the house. But back to the subject at hand. Keon looks better, according to the coaches and according to the reporters. So I like that projection of Keon Coleman for the future. Looks good. Sounds good. Sign me up for more of that. Then you look at how Joe Brady feels about James Cook in the running back situation. And he kept it pretty simple. He loves Jimbo, but Ray Davis is benefiting from his absence. It's kind of just the whole conversation we just had with you guys and me. Joe Brady loves James Cook. I love James Cook. But the business is the business, man. The business is the business. It is what it is. You're going to get paid, but your position and your play is worth. And with how much you can do from that position. James Cook plays 45 to 50% of the snaps. Ty Johnson played 90% of third down snaps. It's awesome. But you don't play on third downs. You can't block. You're of no value to the Buffalo Bills on third down. Like that's less than half the snaps because Ray Davis is seeing his fair share because he's out there putting up, a good 4 yards per carry. Ty Johnson's seeing the ball through the air just as much, if not more, than James Cook. Ty Johnson's out there balling his brains out, man. That touchdown in the back of the end zone where he's sliding and come on now. We've got guys who can make plays. Coleman is big. I see you guys here. He looks like a tight end. Hey, man. Tight ends are dope. Yeah. Apparently, Dalton Kincaid has a knee thing too, though. So that's kind of concerning. Apparently, he had his knee wrapped up. And so I'm hoping that that's okay. But it's early in the process for this year. I haven't heard anything about season-ending anything or surgeries for him. So we'll keep that, pushed down. But yeah, the offense is the offense. Elijah Moore, when Josh was there last week, looked like he was building some chemistry. Apparently his route running is crisp. Joshua Palmer, a little slower with the chemistry part, but still getting there. And we all know that he can get his routes. So yeah. See, would you rather sign Connor McGovern or give Van Prine Granger a shot at center? And should we sign Torrance? That's coming up as well. So Torrance isn't eligible for an extension until after year 3, which is this year. So that's next offseason. So that's off the books already. And he's probably going to be expensive, especially if he has another year like he's had the first 2. He hasn't allowed a sack in his career, I don't think. Cedric, what's his name? Osiris Torrance. If I'm correct, Osiris Torrance has yet to allow a sack in his NFL career, which means that his entire time in college, he did not allow a sack. And then his entire time in the NFL, he has not allowed a sack. That is going to be an expensive player. I don't know if the Bills re-sign him because they've already got both guards on the contract or both tackles on the contract. And then if they re-sign McGovern, that means that you have the brains behind your offensive line and your center signed, and your two bookends who keep your quarterback safe signed. Let's see. Osiris Torrance, sacks allowed this year, 0. Sacks allowed last year. No, he allowed 3 sacks last year. Okay, so I was wrong about that. Still did pretty good pass blocking, but year 2 he greatly improved. He had 7 penalties this year and 6 last year. My son must be home because my dogs are here in the door. Let's see. Ty Johnson, I like it. Does bug me a lot on how much he will play offense, right? Because Ty Johnson is your third back, really. Like it's James Cook, Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, right? But because of Ty Johnson's skill set, he's playing third down all the time. Plus, he's 215 pounds, so he can block. Right? Not only can he block, he can chip block and then go run out for a route. In Detroit, he was a man amongst boys against Detroit. Like he really made them pay for not taking care of what he was doing. Like Ty Johnson, I like Ty Johnson. My buddy is a Cowboys fan, and their running back room was trash. He's sitting there watching the Bills. He's like, "Oh, who's making that play? Oh, is that Ty Johnson again? Yeah, he's getting another first down. Yep." He's like, "Wish we had him." Like, yeah, it's a thing. Trey White has a nickname for Khalil Shakir, Velcro. Dude, them hands are Velcro. I saw that interview with Trey White. Trey White is a very important piece to this defense, I think, this year, and doesn't necessarily mean he's going to see the field a lot. He's going to be a guy to really help hone in these young players, and I'm going to talk about that in a little bit too. This might not be the longest episode, guys. This might be like 45 to an hour, but not a lot to talk about. And most of this interaction is with you guys because you guys are bringing up some of the stuff we're going to talk about anyway. And then I have someone to bounce these ideas off of. Andrew, again, I really want to see him play this year. Yeah, me too. Oh, you say Frank Gore Jr. So I like Frank Gore Jr.'s vision. I like his mental game. I like his processing and how he moves on the field. He's just not fast or strong or big. However, the dude knows how to run. He has vision. He can find the hole, and he's tenacious. So I do like Frank Gore Jr. I think that maybe he'll be activated from the practice squad a few times this year and show what he can do in an actual game. I think the preseason is going to be important for him, but I don't know if he actually makes the roster. I don't think so, but we'll see. I do like what he brings to the table. It's just when you have Ray Davis, Ty Johnson, and then James Cook, it's hard to make the team. It's just hard. All right, so finishing with the offense, moving on to the defense. One thing that a lot of Bills fans have had, bitches, gripes, and complaints about are the safeties, right? We brought back Damar Hamlin. Some people don't like Taylor Rapp because of his, lack of athleticism, and his, aggressive play oftentimes ends up with him hitting one of his own teammates. Like, some people don't like Taylor Rapp. I like Taylor Rapp. I like him quite a bit. He had 3 solid interceptions this year. He did seal the playoff seeding victory for us last year against the Dolphins when Tua threw that interception down the field, and he got hurt during that play. And these are all points that Bobby Babich made about the safety room. He really does love the safety room, and the way he spoke seemed to project that it's going to be Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop, which is what it should be. Like we drafted Cole Bishop in the second round last year. He wasn't quite ready to play. Damar Hamlin played. Damar Hamlin played better than what we expected him to play, but still wasn't great. But it was still serviceable enough for the Bills' defense to be okay. But there's a lot more potential with Cole Bishop, who does have the athleticism and the instincts and the ability to blitz and to play deep. Where DeMar Hamlin is more serviceable in the box. He's not really a deep cover guy. He's not fast enough to stick with guys. People just tend to blow right by him. Very good tackler though. Like DeMar Hamlin's a very good tackler, but he doesn't really bring anything outside of that to the table. He's a tackler, and sometimes he's in the right place at the right time, and he'll get an interception. He had 2 this past year, and those were his first 2 NFL interceptions. You know, partially because he died on the field and then had to be resuscitated. And the year before, in 2023, he didn't see the field nearly at all because of that situation, I think, and the fact that you still had Hyde and Poyer. Now Hyde and Poyer are both gone. Taylor Rapp takes over for Poyer, basically. Well, technically he took over for Hyde because Hyde was the deep guy. Poyer was the box guy. And so DeMar Hamlin kind of played more in the box. I think that once Cole Bishop starts coming along, I think that he'll be the more deep safety, and then he'll have certain blitz packages for him. And I think that Taylor Rapp will take his place in the box where he should be, where he can hit people, because that's what he's good at. He's really good at hitting people. Let's see. I think Rapp is good. Okay, Andrew, we're on the same page. He's good. He's not great. Like, I'm not saying he's a great player, but I'm saying he's a good player. See, he always did great things, especially when it came to big plays. Yes, Taylor Rapp. He didn't always make the big play, but he almost always contributed to the big play. Like, there'd be a point in time where someone would catch the ball and he would lay the hit, the ball would be in the air, and then somebody else would get the pick, right? There's a bunch of plays like that where Taylor Rapp contributed to the big play, but didn't, get the statistic that showed, oh, he had a good play. Let's see. ESPN said the Buffalo should trade a second-round pick for Trey Hendrickson. Problem with that is next year, estimated $11 million over the cap. We will not have any money till the following year, which releases $45 million. So how are you affording a $30 million contract plus giving up draft capital? I don't see it happening. I don't see it happening either. The Bills went and they got Bosa, and I think that's who they got. Right now, if he's available next year, Trey Hendrickson, I could see something happening where they move some money into void years, as they tend to do when they want a big name guy. They'll give him a few void years at the end of the contract. But yeah. See, Bishop and Forrest. Derek Forrest is only 26. I like Bishop. Rookie, got better throughout the year last year. I do like Forrest as well. But Forrest is going to have to beat out Taylor Rapp. And I don't think it's going to be easy because the Bills do like Taylor Rapp. And Forrest is younger than Taylor Rapp. And from what I've seen on tape, Derek Forrest has been pretty good. But he was in Washington behind 2 safeties that he just couldn't beat out. Also, I don't know how good of a scheme fit he was for Washington. But I think in Buffalo, he feels like Micah Hyde, like that type of safety. Now, I don't know if he's as good as Micah Hyde, because Micah Hyde, even though he didn't have the athleticism, he was a 4'6", 40 guy. He didn't have the biggest jumping ability. Micah Hyde was an instinctive player. He knew what you were doing before you knew what you were doing. The play calls coming in, and he already knew what the hell it was. Like, Micah Hyde had the brains, and he was just athletic enough, like that Patriot game in the playoffs, where he runs down freaking Nelson Aguilar, I think it was, and snatches that interception in the front corner of the end zone. You're like, what is going on? Like, how did he get there? How did he know that was coming? And he just knew where you were going before you went there. You could try and look him off. It didn't work 99% of the time. Like, you had to be one of the brilliant quarterbacks in the NFL to really do it. And even half the time he couldn't do it in Patrick Mahomes. He would try and look off Micah Hyde, and Micah Hyde got a pick six on him. Like, Hyde just knew what to do. And I think that Derek Forrest is more that type of guy, but with more athleticism. But I don't know if he's got the processing speed that Micah Hyde did, because Micah Hyde was just light years ahead of everybody when it came to processing. Jordan Poyer was good at processing, but he was more like hit it, and if something comes to this, then cool. he was instinctive too, but he was more of a a box safety, but he could play deep. But he was just more of a guy who would process information and then like just go hard, like maximum physical effort. Whereas Hyde was more finesse. I hope that makes sense. Like I'm trying to explain what I'm meaning, and it doesn't always come out great. Say yes, he would hit receivers when they are always in the air and would just lay them out. Yeah, we're talking about not Cole Bishop, but Taylor Rapp. See, Hyde was dope. He knew what to do. Jordan Poyer, Micah Hyde, I really do miss you. Yeah, they had so much chemistry. They did. See, Rapp is very scary. He's a great player, but he is a bit of a kamikaze that hurts himself and teammates. I think that's why we went and got so much depth. I think that's why we got so much depth, because you want your guy to not hurt himself or his teammates, but you also don't want to be telling your guy, "Hey, we need you to step it up and go out there and just hit somebody," right? You don't want that either. You want your guy to go out there and lay someone out, and if push comes to shove, you say, "Hey, can we reel this in just a little bit? Can we go a little easier?" Right? You want the guy who's ready, willing, and able to go out there and lay someone out and take their head off, and you have to tell him, "Hey, yo, chill." You don't want the guy you have to motivate to go out there and do the hitting. You want your guy to just want to hit. He wants to hit. So go hit something, man. Like I do like that about him. It can be a double-edged sword at times, but I do like that about Micah Hyde. But Derek Forrest is another guy who I really like. I think our safety room is going to be um, Taylor Rapp, Cole Bishop, Derek Forrest, and probably DeMar Hamlin. Um, unless they're really counting on Hancock to really take that role. Let me see who else is on the roster, just in case I'm forgetting somebody, because I could be forgetting somebody. And with 90 players on the roster at this current point in time, it's hard to keep track of everybody. Well, harder to keep track of everybody. So safeties, we got Hamlin, Hancock, Forrest, Wande Owens. Yeah, it's probably going to be Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, Cole Bishop, and Derek Forrest. Jordan Hancock, I think, will make the roster as a corner. He could, take Cam Lewis's spot because he's going to be paid less than Cam Lewis as a 5th-round pick, whereas Cam Lewis is now getting paid veteran minimum to a little bit more than that. And so that could be the short term for Cam Lewis. We'll see what happens. Yes, Cam Lewis does play safety, nickel, corner. He's kind of a jack of all trades. He plays linebacker damn near sometimes. Cam Lewis could be depth. He could be, but I think that the drafting of Jordan Hancock might be kind of pushing him off the roster. We'll see, because you got to go out there and perform. You can't just show up and then unask a guy like Cam Lewis, who really has been a staple. When Taron Johnson got hurt against the Dolphins, I think it was, and Cam Lewis had to go out there, like he was hitting wrestling moves on dudes to get to the ball carrier and make tackles in the backfield. He was hitting duck unders and getting into the backfield. And I'm like, how are these big guys not able to get a hand on him? He's just sliding right past him, getting real low to the ground, and taking a shot and shooting the gap and getting through. And man, they really shut down the run in that Dolphin game. And then against the Ravens, man, we all know what happened that week 3. It was brutal. It was brutal. But back to the program for the day. Speaking of Jordan Hancock, he had mentioned that they have a plan for him, right? They have a plan. It's well thought out. It's time sensitive. They really want to get him going in a certain direction in a certain amount of time. And they have 4 years with the guy, so they can figure out if this plan is not going to work, we can shift to another plan with him. They have time. But if their plan is to kind of work him at safety / nickel, and then he's kind of the backup to Taron Johnson, and then maybe after a few years we eventually get rid of Taron Johnson because he's been in the NFL now for 8 years. So eventually the wheels fall off the vehicle, and you got to buy a new vehicle. He could be that guy to replace Taron Johnson in the future, maybe. Like, it's hard to say a 5th-round pick is going to be the guy who replaces Taron Johnson, who's a All-Pro nickelback. But Taron Johnson was a 4th-round pick, so you can find that guy all over the place. Like it doesn't like Matt Milone was a 5th-round pick, All-Pro linebacker. You find guys in all the rounds, but you don't want to count on a guy in that round to replace your All-Pro. But it's kind of where you find those guys. So we'll see. Man, Andrew says, "Hey, I gotta go. I'm out. I love the show. I appreciate it, man. Come back anytime. Love having you guys. You guys are my therapy." Now, so there's a plan for Jordan Hancock. Again, time sensitive and well thought out. I don't know what all that's supposed to mean. Sounds like coach speak, as in we're not going to tell you what it is, but we do have ideas for this kid, and we love the athlete, we love the mentality, but we're just not sure where he's going to be. That's what it sounds like to me. But I'm not a coach, so I'm just going to go ahead and trust that they have a plan, as he said, and hope that that plan comes to fruition, because I want every player on the Buffalo Bills to pan out. I want all of them to pan out. Let's see. I heard Dorian Strong is playing well so far. I have heard the same thing. Dorian Strong apparently is playing very well, which doesn't surprise me because he is a technical corner, right? He's a zone technical corner from Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech is very defensively sound. They don't mess around. Their scheme is very thick. And so that's why Bobby Babich is coming out saying we need him to unlearn Virginia Tech's defense and learn the Buffalo Bills defense. Like the coaches actually come out and said, like, he's so good at that defense that they ran in Virginia Tech that we have to have him unlearn that and learn our stuff. There's similarities, but the calls are different. The responsibilities on certain things are different. We need him to unlearn the stuff he was great at to come over here and try and be good at what we do. But technique-wise, he's excellent. That's what I've been hearing out of camp. I listened to all the beat reporters who were there, the Matt Perinos, the Sal Capaccios. Man, they're all Italian. Matt Boves. I listened to all these guys, and they're all kind of echoing the same thing. So it sounds to me like it's reliable information. So I gotta go with that. If I lived in Buffalo, I'd probably be a beat reporter myself. But I live in North Carolina, where I have to trust and believe those folks. But I like them, so I listen to them. They have good insight. But Dorian Strong, I've heard good things about him too. But the star of the show is going to be Max Hairston. We never hear anything about Christian Benford because there's nothing to say, man. The dude's dope. So, like, they're not going to be like, oh, and Christian Benford, who just got paid. Like, no. He's been doing this for 4 years already. Like, that dude's, there's nothing to be said about Christian Benford. Period. Unless he starts screwing up, Christian Benford is just not news. Oh, Christian Benford got another interception today. Okay. That's what he does. Now, Bobby Babich, in an interview, also said was talking about the number of coaches, specifically for the secondary and the D line. Like, on the defensive side of the ball, we have a nickel coach, we have a safety coach, we have a corner coach. On any given play, we're running one nickel, two safeties, two corners in our 4-2-5 or 3-3-5 defense, because I think a 3-3-5 is coming this year with Michael Hoyt. I think that Michael Hoyt's going to make this defense more Lorenzo Alexander-ish. I know people have thrown that out. I see it too. So you might see Michael Hoyt lined up. My vision is this. There'll be plays out there where you run Ed Oliver on the edge, right? There's going to be some plays where you run Ed Oliver on the edge. You have like a Rousseau, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones out there, or you'll have a TJ Sanders. Like if Greg Rousseau needs a break, You don't necessarily take off. You throw Hoyt out there, right? And so you have T.J. Sanders, Ed Oliver, Daquan Jones out there, big boys up front, and Hoyt is the edge. And then on the other edge, you have Ed Oliver because he's the motor guy, and then you just have him fall back into the Lorenzo Alexander spot, and he can rush, he can cover, he can do whatever he's got to do from that spot, whatever he's assigned to do on that play. Probably mostly rushing the passer or diagnosing the run and getting the run stop. But his role to me appears to be more of that than it does to be a straight up hand in the dirt edge rusher. He's probably gonna do some of that too. But like in a situation where they're like, okay, this is most likely a passing down. We're gonna go 3-3-5 instead of 4-2-5, having the guy in coverage, and then allow our big fat bastards to go after the guy and to contain or whatever the quarterback situation happens to be in that game. Or you can blitz somebody else, like you can blitz a Milano and have Hoyt out there in coverage, who's covered tight ends down the field before, even at 267 pounds. He's a big boy, but he's long, he's lanky, and he's got speed. But that's 6 weeks into the season when we get him back from suspension. So the number of coaches that we have to coach the secondary is 3 for 5 guys, and for 4 guys who are going to be in, you only have 2 coaches. If you count the assistant to the defensive line coach, a coach in that situation, because you're going to have an assistant secondary coach. Like you're going to have more coach. You're going to have like 1 coach per player in the secondary, but you're not going to have that for the defensive line. There's 1 defensive line coach, and you have a linebackers coach, then you have a safeties coach. Like just the way that they've designed this. And so I think that he's looking at potentially having more people coach the defensive line, maybe bringing in an edge rushers guy. So, yeah. See, a Brentford Strong CB duo would not surprise me at all. I think Trey starts week 1 against the Ravens. I don't know about that. The first part I could see, like if Hairston is too much of a risk reward type player and doesn't go the way they planned. I like the fact that they drafted Dorian Strong, like they did Christian Benford when they drafted Kyer Elam. I like the fact that they double dipped there and made sure that they had that spot shored up. So like if you're not dependable as a starter, Mr. First round pick, who's clearly very happy all the time, we have this other guy who's quite serious about playing in the NFL. I think Maxwell Harrison is too. Like, so don't take this as a slight on him, but he is a very risky player. Let's be fair, right? As my man Akeem says, call a spade a spade. He's a very risky player. Could be great, could be terrible, could be just a good player. We'll see what happens there. But I do think that it wouldn't surprise me either if it's Christian Benford and Dorian Strong out there at some point. Trey White starting week 1 would surprise me. Let me get through minicamp and into training camp first before I agree or disagree with that statement. Yeah. So you live in NC. How long have you been a Bills fan and why? So I live in North Carolina, right? I was born in Rochester, New York. So that's how I became a Bills fan. I was born in Rochester in '84. The Bills sucked, but I wasn't paying attention to football. Then all of a sudden the Bills started going to AFC Championship games and Super Bowls. And at the time I didn't really care about football, but I knew that the Bills were one hell of a team. I didn't really start caring about football until about 12, 13 years old. After we lost 4 Super Bowls in a row, I tried to hate the Bills. I couldn't do it. I tried to hate them. I tried to become a 49ers fan. Still like the Niners, but I'm a Bills fan through and through. I think it was my angsty, angry kid phase. Excuse me. But born in Rochester, heavy Bills influence. Always Bills stuff at Wegmans. My mom always bought me Bills stuff. Like it was a thing. Like they were the local thing. So my mom just naturally kind of bred that into me, which is weird because she doesn't like football, but they were always around. And half my family are Cowboys fans. So like the football part of my family that I connected with were the Bills fans. So I could be a Cowboys fan right now, which I would hate right now because they freaking suck. But I did have to endure 17 years of that BS that was. But I live in North Carolina because I joined the Army, right? And I got stationed in Alaska first, and I was up there, and there's a ton of Bills fans up there, believe it or not. And then I got stationed down here at Fort Bragg as my second permanent duty station. And when we exited the service, we stayed here. Taxes are just lower here, and it's more easily affordable than New York State. And that's how that happened. See, it baffles me that we do not kick Groot inside more. Perhaps this will be so. I think that he could be part of that whole 3-3-5 defense, right? So you got Groot, you have Hoyt, TJ Sanders, Daquan Jones, or Ed Oliver and Daquan Jones, right? I'd go TJ Sanders if you want to go bigger on the line there, and then you have basically Groot, Daquan Jones, TJ Sanders, and then Hoyt would be the guy who breaks off, and then if Groot needs a break, Ed Oliver would be the guy to replace Groot in that situation. So that way you have 3 down big guys, rushing the quarterback. You'd kind of have Ed Oliver in that situation, either running the 3 tech or the 5 tech. But I think he can rake enough havoc to where it's not that big a deal. And then, again, Hoyt on the other side. So I think that it'd be a thing this year that you see Groot kind of replace defensive tackles. In that situation, it wouldn't be an inside thing because you'd be running a 3-3. So running a 3-3, the big guy in the middle would be Daquan Jones, and then be only one guy in the middle, unless you had TJ Sanders, Daquan Jones, Groot, and then Hoyt on the outside of him, which the Bills did do a lot with Lorenzo Alexander and Jerry Hughes. You'd have both of those guys on the same side, and they ran roughshod on a lot of people doing that. It was pretty intense, but I do love it. All right. So next point of discussion here, with the coaches, Trey White, who everybody's here talking about, has said clearly and consistently that he is here to contribute to the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl cause in any capacity possible, whether it's playing on the field, whether it's coaching up these young players, whether it's, being a mentor, whether it's, anything. Like, he's here to help this ship cross the finish line. He just wants to be here for when we get our ring, and he's going to do everything in his power to help that happen. Totally respected, right? He only took $3.5 million, I think, to be here, and a lot of that is incentive laden. He knows where he's at in his career. Is at the tail end, and he just wants to win with the Bills. Like, we brought him into the NFL. Coach McDermott and those guys, they helped make him an all-pro cornerback, almost defensive player of the year that Stephon Gilmore won it. Those two guys were neck and neck. I think the right guy won it in Gilmore, but I really wanted Trey to get it. Obviously, they were both first-team all-pro that year. Like, Tre'Davious White and all his success has been in Buffalo. He is now 2 years removed from his last injury. He should be fine physically now. And I'm just hoping to see Trey White achieve the goal of getting a Super Bowl in a Bills uniform, along with everybody else on the team, because I'm a Bills fan all the way from the beginning, since I was 4. So let's be real here. Tre'Davious White is a Buffalo Bill through and through, and he is ready to mentor Mad Max and the youngins, help them get acclimated to this defense and get set. I think that this is why Trey White's going to make the team over a so on my TV screen here, Dane Jackson, right? I think our corners are going to be Christian Benford, Maxwell Harrison, Taron Johnson, Jordan Hancock, Dorian Strong, and Tre'Davious White. I think we keep six corners, and those are the guys. And then at safety, it's going to be Taylor Rapp, DeMar Hamlin, Cole Bishop, and Derek Forrest. Jordan Hancock will be the 5th safety and the 6th corner, so to speak. That's just how I kind of see that room, those 2 rooms, or the secondary, being distributed. So total of 10 guys, 10 guys. 10? No, it's 11. It's 11 guys. Rapp, Hamlin, Bishop, Hancock, Ford. Yeah. So 11 guys, the whole secondary. 1 guy is basically the 5th safety, the 6th corner, And I think that the Buffalo Bills will roll that way. I think the Buffalo Bills are set in the secondary. Um, I know a lot of guys are asking about some safeties who are out there. Simmons, I know is a big name that people have been, asking about. I don't see that happening, but I do like the fact that they brought back Trey White to help build this team and to help this team fulfill their destiny by any means necessary within its power legally and not hurting anybody. I do love me some Trey White. Chris Tabor, our special teams coordinator, and this is my last point for the show, and then I'll be releasing you guys back to the public. Chris Tabor is excited about the number of potential returners and special teams players. So he's looking at guys like Elijah Moore, and he's looking at guys like Brendan Codrington. He's looking at guys like Khalil Shakir, who in a pinch can go out there and return. He's looking at guys like Reggie Gilliam, who plays, 4 phases of special teams. He's got guys on his team, and he's new to the squad. He's got guys on his team that he can look at and see potential on the special team side. He's apparently a really good special teams coach, and so I'm happy he's here, and I'm happy that he sees the potential on the team, because if he didn't, that'd be a problem. John Roberts says Wande Owens will probably be practice squad. I think so too. I think Wande Owens will make the practice squad. They usually like to keep a safety in the practice squad, and so him being that guy, they brought him here for a reason, and I think that they brought him here because they see potential in him. He's a rookie from New Hampshire. He's 5'11", 210 pounds. I think some people thought he was going to be more of a linebacker, but I don't really see that at all, unless I'm thinking Keontae Jenkins. Let me look up him too. He is 6'2", 219. I might have been thinking about him. He's a very lean linebacker, 219 pounds, but, the Bills tend to roll with smaller linebackers. So, my man John Roberts says Codrington will be gone. Most likely. Look, I'm not going to lie. Like, Codrington can't play defense. Like, he's just not good at defense. His job is a returner, right? So he's going to go out there into the ether, and some team that just needs a returner, purely and simply, will pick him up. So I'm not worried about Codrington not having a career, right? I'm worried about him playing coverage. When you bring in guys like Elijah Moore, who can return the ball, and when you have guys like Khalil Shakir, who, if your main returner is injured, they can go in there, step in, and be a good returner. Guys like Curtis Samuel, Laviska Shenault, who's on the team right now, may not make the roster, probably won't make the roster, but if they're on the practice squad, you can then elevate them if something happens and you have to put somebody on IR. You have a guy who's still available. It is what it is. There's a lot of guys who are out there on this team who I think are gone. Then there's no chance that they make it. But I think that there's some room for growth and potential. Like Tyrell Shavers had a great catch in practice, one-handed over Maxwell Harrison. Tyrell Shavers is massive, man. He's a huge guy, and whenever he's gotten opportunities, he's done well with the opportunities. He just hasn't had a lot of them because we've been such a good roster. I think on a lot of other teams, he makes the team and may eventually make a name for himself, but he's here in Buffalo, and you got to deal with the team that you're on. But Tyrell Shavers, man, like he's making plays in practice, but he's probably not going to make the team. He's probably going to be on the practice squad again. Starting the receivers that we have on this roster are probably going to be Khalil Shakir, Keon Coleman, Joshua Palmer, Elijah Moore, Curtis Samuel, and if they keep a sixth, it could be Shavers. I've been hearing good things about Caden Prather too, though, so we'll see what happens. Also, Caden Prather in my Madden league, excellent. I built that guy up. But yeah, the team looks like they're doing well. He can play special teams also. Yes, I've seen that too. He's a solid blocker. And from what I understand, he might be okay gunner, but I'm not positive about that one. I heard somebody say it, but I don't know if they're reliable, so I pitch it out there with the caveat that maybe. But guys, this has been my show. There's 400 of you guys here with me today. I appreciate that. It's the off season. There's not a lot to talk about, but the things that we did talk about, they do make a difference, and we'll see how much of a difference they actually make when this team is built and they cut down to 53 and then they pick up their 16 on the practice squad and they decide who's going to be expendable and released to the waivers and free agency of the NFL. And then if there's guys that other teams have released and then pick up, like there's so much that goes into this. Whenever you see somebody like me, but maybe not even for our team, maybe a Bears fan or maybe a Niners fan or an Eagles fan or Dolphins fan. Maybe they got some guys that the fan base really truly loves, and those guys are still going to get cut. We go from 90 to 53. That's 37 people cut, 16 potentially on the practice squad. Some of them are going to be veteran spots that you want to fill with veterans so that way they can help the practice squad grow, like we did last year with Kareem Jackson. You have these moments where in the offseason we can talk about those things, and they do make a difference, but there's not a lot of those moments at this point in time, right? So we have any shows, and I just want to make sure I have something to talk about whenever I come on. And so today, had plenty. Next week, I hope to have more. We'll see what happens. But guys, I love you. You guys have been wonderful. As always, you've been respectful in the comments. I've had no nonsense. I've had some agreements, some disagreements, some things that just needed clearing up. But guys, God bless you. Go Bills. Much love. And we're out of here.